Hi, and welcome to the 3rd anniversary of the Secret Healer books. And Hilary Lacroix wanted to know, incidentally, Hilary, I wish I was called Lacroix. What a fantastic name. Hilary Lacroix wanted to know, why is there such a variation in prices of essential oils? Is it quality? Is it provenance? Is it to do with good or bad harvest? And does lower price always mean poor quality? I'm not sure I really know the answer, Hilary, because the only people who can really truly tell you if their oils are worth what they're charging are the people who put the prices on them. But I don't think that the lower price always means poor quality, but I do think that it's easy to justify a higher price based on certainly things like poor harvest. You know, sometimes the harvest will be poor, but also there would have been adequate amounts of oil had certain conglomerates not bought the whole lot at one time. So of course then they can say, well, yeah, we'll have a higher price for that. So I'm not saying anything more than those high prices are because people pay the conglomerates enough for them to have a monopoly. So yeah, poor harvest will make a difference. Like, sorry about the train. Last year I went to the rose harvest, to the rose festival in Bulgaria, in Kazanluk. And what was very interesting to me was they hadn't set any prices for next year, yet people had already put their orders in. The big wholesalers had put orders in for them, even not knowing what the price was going to be, and that was entirely based on how much yield they would get from the petals. So that it had rained, so it had ruined the harvest, but also the year's weather and soil quality and how well they've been able to irrigate it and how well they can store it. All of that will affect the essential oil quality, but also the yield. So yeah, that will affect the price. Also, you've got to think about what else is. It would be easier if I had a bottle of. Here's my bottle of oil. So that bottle of oil has got liquid in it, but what other things has it got? Well, it's got its labelling, it's got its bottles, it's got to pay for the people that have sold it. If it's a large company that sells by pyramid marketing or whatever, then it's got to pay the wages of all those people going down the pyramid. It's got to pay for the training, for their training. Well, to a certain extent, maybe we should get a refund on that. But it's a bit of a naughty thing to say, isn't it? But that's got to be paid for. So things like Young Living oil and doTERRA, make no mistake, they are nice oils. They are nice oils, but you're not necessarily only paying for the oil that's in the bottle. You're paying for all the marketing material. You're paying for the glitzy. I mean, some of them have got. I would love a doTERRA bag that's got all of those compartments in for the different oils. All of those are being paid for. You know, people hand over money, but it's all paid for in that bottle of oil. So but then you've also got to think, well, are the only people who've got good oils big businesses? Well, no, they're not, are they? There's plenty of small suppliers, and if they charge top dollar, probably, you know, to a certain extent, they might have got them from the same wholesalers on a lot of occasions. I mean, people like Young Living and doTERRA usually buy from the farms themselves. They can afford to do that. But the next layer down, they're buying from the same wholesalers. They've got the same oils. But in order to be able to compete on Amazon, they do have to, I don't know about you, but I start right low to high. If I'm looking for a pair of shoes, I want to find one that's £3. So, you know, so they want to come high in search, so they put their prices low. So no, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're worse quality, but it's an indicator, to be honest. You know, it's a good indicator as to, if they've bought it cheap, then you've got to ask yourself, how did they afford to buy it cheap? And chances are then the producer maybe had cut corners, or maybe it's old stock, or, you know, So yeah, so it's interesting, but then you've got the other side of the coin, things like vetiver. I'll cover this in another video actually. Somebody wanted to know about fair trade, and one of the things about vetiver is, for the most part, vetiver is covered by a fair trade agreement, and part of that agreement is that they leave them in the ground longer. The roots have to develop far more oil from being in the ground longer. The staff have to be paid a fair wage. So that means if minimum wage sanctions are put into place, then that's going to affect the price of the oil. And I know actually that a friend of mine's a lavender producer in America, and she's been completely crippled by minimum wage restrictions. She can have volunteers on the farm for the lavender harvest, for the lavender festival, but the rest of the time she has to pay minimum wage. So if you're competing in America with minimum wage in America, or France or UK or any of those other places that have got those restrictions in place, and you're competing with, I don't know, India or China, whom I suspect don't have those, they can produce cheaper, they can sell cheaper, so therefore you can buy cheaper. Does it mean it's a better oil? No, it doesn't necessarily. It's a different oil. It might be inferior, but it's certainly not the price that makes it inferior. So you're going to ask me now, I suppose, how do we choose? And to me, I kind of pick a supplier and think, right, how passionate are they? How much do they care about their oils? Do they care about the oils more than the money? And if the answer is yes, then I will buy from them. But for the most part, I like to try and buy from artisan distillers, people who've done it themselves. If you go to, I would really try and encourage you to go to aromatherapy conferences, because just you meet the most incredible people, and depending, especially in America, those people are really accessible. When I went to Beijing, we were squirreled out of the way, and people could take a picture with me, but they couldn't really talk to me. But the ones in America, you can just go and talk to whomever you want to, and you can go and buy from whomever you want to, and you can look to see who we're buying from, and all of those people that have been passionate enough to learn how to distill. And they'll have slightly higher prices, but they're not. But they're paying for. You're paying for a really beautiful oil that's had a lot more tenderness and love put into it, I have to say. So I think no, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's an inferior product, but I think you do, to a certain extent, you get what you pay for. I hope I don't know if that's helpful or not. It was a really good question though. Thank you. And I am going to send you a copy of the new book, Hilary. So can you please send me your details on Messenger so I know where to post it to. Thanks for your support, Hilary. Take care. Bye.